Hi, welcome to my channel. I'm Stacy. I'm a therapist in private practice in the Jackson, Mississippi area, and this is Ask a Therapist. Every Friday, I answer questions from viewers and people who have submitted answer requests to me on a website called Quora or Quora. There's some debate on how to pronounce that, but either way, I bring you answers on all kinds of topics. There is no question too big, no topic too small. If you're interested in submitting a question, you can email me, AskStacey at StaceyAldridgeLCSW.com. And yeah, we just talk about whatever is on your mind this week. So let's get right into the questions. So a lot of the questions that have been submitted lately are about cocaine or virus, which I think I'm going to have to bleep out because I know YouTube demonetizes people. My channel's not monetized, but I still want to show up in search results. But a lot of people have questions about what's going on right now in the country, in the world. Obviously, it would be nice if we were not affected by that kind of thing, but this is something that has drastically changed the way that we live our lives. So unfortunately, it is something that's on everybody's mind. So a lot of the questions lately have related to that in some way. So the first question this week comes from Lori. She asks, is it okay for my therapist to continue and end an unwanted termination process over the phone? She won't put it on hold. The termination is because my trauma is too deep for my therapist of 5 years, but we're not doing trauma work anymore. Okay, so basically what Lori's saying is that she's been working with a therapist and the therapist has decided that he or she needs to terminate the therapy. And the reason for that is that the therapist, it sounds like, has only been in practice for 5 years.
Hi, this is Editing Stacy. I just wanted to pop back in here real quick as I edit this video and say that I realized afterwards I had misunderstood this question. I thought she was saying for some reason that her therapist had only been practicing for 5 years and so was inexperienced because of that. But what she was saying was that she'd been seeing this particular therapist for 5 years and had done a lot of work with her. It's just that they had gotten to the point where the trauma was something that the therapist was not qualified to treat. So if I talk about the therapist not being experienced, I was kind of talking about thinking that the therapist hadn't been in practice very long, but I think regardless of whether or not the therapist has been in practice for 1 year or 30 years, the answer is still the same. If somebody does not feel qualified or like they have the appropriate training to treat something, then ethically they definitely shouldn't. So just wanted to clarify that.
And this person has very deep trauma. So the question of, is it okay to do it over the phone? If that is going to make it so that you can get help from somebody else, yes, probably you would need to terminate before you start therapy with somebody else. And I would not really advise waiting if you've started to get into the trauma until this is over. A lot of therapists and counselors, including myself and the group practice where I practice, have been doing therapy online via video. And I think that it's a good idea to try to find somebody who works with trauma and also can do online sessions. Now, I didn't realize that it was possible until I recently took a training on telemental health and best practices. And the person that was doing that workshop actually said that some people do EMDR therapy over video sessions, which I thought, wow, that's incredible. I had no idea that EMDR could be done. And I'm not going to get into a lot of that. I will put links in the description box if you're interested in EMDR, learning more about it. But what it is a type of therapy that has been clinically proven to be extremely effective in trauma counseling therapy and helping people move through trauma. But there are lots of people in all of the states, I believe, who are EMDR certified, EMDR trained, so you can get information on that in the description box. But what Lori is talking about here is an ethical obligation of a therapist. See, a lot of people don't realize that the code of ethics that every type of therapist has, whether that's social workers like myself, licensed professional counselors, psychologists, psychiatrists, licensed marriage and family therapists, every single discipline has a very detailed code of ethics that we are to adhere to. And I don't know them all really well, but I know from talking to counselors that I work with that a lot of the principles are very similar. And one of the things that we have in social work ethics is an obligation to the people that we work with to not work outside of the scope of our practice, to be professional, and to provide them the care that they need. And if you can't provide the care that someone needs, then you need to refer them to somebody that can, because it's not ethical to treat someone who you are not qualified to treat. So I think that probably, and I am reading a little bit into this question, but I think that maybe this person started out in therapy with someone and then felt comfortable about opening up about some trauma. And I've also had that situation with a client as well. And when you feel comfortable with a therapist, you definitely want to continue working with them because you've opened up to them because you feel comfortable with them. But I think that it is an ethical obligation of the inexperienced therapist to say, look, I don't think that we can progress in these other areas until you work through the trauma. And so because of that, I think that I need to refer you to somebody else. And in that case, I would say you always have the option of going back to the original therapist. Like, let's say you come in for relationship issues. We're working on relationship issues, and then 6 sessions in, it comes out that you have this trauma that you've hidden. And the therapist can see now that this trauma is impacting that relationship. You can continue to work on those relationship issues in therapy, but if the trauma is really keeping those things that you're learning over here from being something that you can apply because you're having reactions that have to do with the trauma, or you're looking through all of life through this lens of trauma, then this therapy here is not going to be effective. So if you work through the trauma, then you can come back to the relationship issues, because that's stuff that you're still going to have to work on. You may need to learn communication skills. You may need to heal the relationship from the impact of the trauma. So it doesn't mean that you can't work with that therapist again. It just means that somebody needs to help you with the trauma first. And trauma is one of those things that, like, you might disassociate and you might block it out, but we can't cut that trauma out of our lives. Those trauma reactions and that experience is really something that needs to be focused on first. And that you have to let the professional decide what is most acute and what needs to be treated. And I'm not that person that's going to tell you, doctors know better than you, therapists know better than you. 99.9% of the time, I'm going to be the person that's saying, you know your own body, you know your own mind, you know what you need. Don't let somebody else tell you what you need. But this is going to be the exception, because from the outside, we can often tell what is impacting a person in a way that they can't. So you have to believe your therapist when he or she tells you that they can't give you the help that you need. Their job is to help you. And if they can't do that, the ethical, the professional, and the moral decision is to terminate and refer you to somebody that can. And that sucks. It really does, especially if you have trouble opening up, if you have trouble, really trusting somebody. But trust the person that you like to know that they can't give you what you need right now. And also, depending on the area that you're in, there's the shelter-in-place orders, stay at home, quarantine. We don't know when this is going to end. And I personally would not want to push somebody off for 4, 6, 8 weeks that needs help, because that's not fair and that's not right. So I don't think that's the answer that the person asking the question wanted to hear. But unfortunately, I think that if terminating over the phone is the only way that the therapist can, maybe they don't have access to secure video in order to do an online or video session to terminate, then that is what they have to do to make sure that you get the help that you need. Lee asks, as a therapist, will you continue to have in-person sessions with clients during the outbreak of, or how will you handle this? Well, it has been a learning experience for everybody. I apologize if you can hear a lawnmower in the background, because I film from home all the time. So I am at home and there's somebody doing some yard work right now, unfortunately, but this is the time that I have to film. But I know I have seen in professional Facebook groups where people discuss things, private practice groups, within our own practice, that people are scrambling to figure out how to respond to this. And I've seen a variety of different things, but for my practice, I am part of a nonprofit group practice. And because we are a nonprofit, we are governed by a board of directors. So when our board of directors made the decision that we would not be seeing people face to face any longer, we stopped seeing people face to face. And that was the 2nd or 3rd week of March. That was March the 17th. And they made the decision that it was not safe for our clients or for the professionals or the office staff to continue to do in-person appointments. Luckily for us, we already provide secure video online counseling. If you're interested in that, I made a video showing how it works, and I will link to that down below as well. So we already had secure video capability through Zoom, something that we pay for. It is HIPAA compliant because we offer that 24/7. That's not right. We're not available 24/7. We offer that all the time. So it's not something new during the pandemic. However, only offering online sessions is definitely something new and different. And we've had to figure out how to do that and deal with it. For example, a lot of people would still go to the office to do online sessions to make sure that they were 100% secure. Myself, I self-quarantined for 2 weeks when I started having symptoms, so I had to start doing sessions from my home office here. But it is a dedicated home office. So that was different though. It is, I think it has been helpful though, because I have a lot of clients who are trying to figure out how to balance work when working from home. And by experiencing this myself, I've been able to help them better figure all of that stuff out for themselves as well. So yes, obviously I think it's an important time to continue having sessions if possible. Unfortunately, some clients don't have the availability to. I have some people who don't have internet at their houses. I have one client who would have to use somebody else's phone because they don't have phone or internet. I have people who just feel like they don't have enough privacy because they are home with a spouse and several children. So for a variety of reasons, some people don't want online sessions, and that is a frustrating place to be in as a professional, because you always want to be able to provide people with the services that they need, but we all have to be smart. We have to follow the laws of our cities and our states, and finally here in Mississippi, they did make the stay-at-home order decision. Now, mental health services are included in healthcare, so we are an essential business, essential service, but it is just a better idea for everybody to stay at home. And I'm very glad that we have the capability to continue to serve our clients and be able to stay at home too. Now, a lot of states have changed the laws governing who can do online or video therapy. For example, I could do online therapy with my degree, but the counselors, who are governed by a different board, had to have additional certification in telemental health before they could do it. But the board waived that for this time, so that people who maybe had not finished the certification or hadn't started the certification, who never planned to offer online sessions, could continue to serve their clients in a way that was safe. I decided to go ahead and take a telemental health certification training, just because I'm that type of person who I want to make sure that I know the best practices. I want to know what to do. There's a lot of things I tell clients all the time that you don't know until you need to know. So I felt like it was a better idea just to go ahead and do it. But luckily, with having more time, I also was able to go through that. But the HIPAA restrictions were also loosened from the federal government. Some people are choosing to use non-HIPAA compliant things like FaceTime, Skype. Zoom itself is not secure, as we well know from all the news reports. So, if you're using a non-secure Zoom platform, there's all different types of things. But, I've discussed it with my colleagues, and we're all kind of by the book people. And I think the first thing that you have to do is always, always, always keep the health and the safety of your clients first and foremost. And I'm very glad that we were already set up to be HIPAA compliant. We've stayed HIPAA compliant, and that way we make sure that everybody is safe, your medical information is safe, and you're still getting access to the help that you need. We're all learning together. We're figuring it out together, and I'm very glad that I get to be a part of that. So those are the 2 questions for this week. Thank you to Lauren, and I've already forgotten the other person's name, Lauren and Lee. Thank you to Lauren and Lee for these questions. If you'd like to submit a question for me to answer, you can send me an email, AskStacey@StaceyAldridgeLCSW.com. And if you liked this video, I hope that you will consider subscribing. I bring you a new Ask a Therapist video every Friday. And I also try to bring some other mental health and relationship focused topics as I have time. I have a little bit more time these days, so I'm going to be bringing some new videos next week. If you made it this far, I hope that you'll give me a thumbs up, like the video, subscribe, and hit the bell so you get a notification every time a new video is posted. I thank you for spending your time with me, and remember, be kind to other people today, but don't forget to be kind to yourself too. I'll see you next time.